Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Vintage Meteor, and this is my first ever attempt at completing a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemonblue. If you're unfamiliar with Nuzlockes, I've included the full rules in the description below. But essentially, I'm only allowed to catch my first encounter in each area. If a Pokemon faints, it must be permaboxed. No using items in battle, no leveling up past the next gym leader's ace, and we have to play on set mode. We start off by naming ourselves Vintage. And, of course, having grown up with the anime, we name our rival Gary Oak. As every 10-year-old must do, we say goodbye to our mum forever. But she's strangely cool with it, because the TV told her it was okay. We then try to visit Professor Oak in his lab, but he's not home. So we go for a leisurely stroll in the Wait, where did you just come from? I've been gone for 5 seconds and mum already has him over. We follow our new father to his lab and pick a Squirtle as our starter and name him Sheldon. Our rival eventually swaggers over and picks Bulbasaur and immediately challenges us to battle. Of course, being a Pokemon veteran, I cruise through the battle. Well, good thing the run doesn't technically begin until I get Pokeballs. He then tells me he'll smell me later, and smell me he shall. I then push up to Viridian City to collect a parcel for Professor Oak. Did you give me a Pokemon just so I could collect your mail? And to further handicap us, Gary Oak rubs in the fact that he's getting a town map from his sister, and that there's no chance she'll give us one. After receiving some Pokeballs, the run officially begins, and we can finally get our first encounter on Route 1, a Pidgey named Pegasus. We then head over to Route 22, west of Viridian, and get ourselves a Rattata and name him Stuart. And with this came my first of many harsh lessons of the run, as I naively continue to explore and run into Gary once again. He kinda catches me off guard here, but luckily I'd begun training up Sheldon and Pegasus a bit. But not Stuart. He leads with Pidgey and I lead with Sheldon. We go back and forth with some gusts and tackles until Sheldon gets too low, and I'm forced to switch. I can't risk Pegasus taking a hit knowing he has Bulbasaur on the back, so Stuart has to make the ultimate sacrifice. This gives us a safe switch to Pegasus, who finishes off Pidgey, and works his way through Bulbasaur. If Gust was a flying move in Gen 1, this would have been a lot less worrying, but Game Freak hadn't yet figured out that a Gust and flying are somehow connected. We lose our newest member, but get revenge on our rival. Smell that, you piece of shit. We head to the Poke Center to deposit our dead rat, get pushed off a cliff by some old dude, and head north where we meet this innocent little girl going into Viridian Forest, and she tears our heart out. I miss you, Stuart. Moving on, we catch a Caterpie on Route 2 and name him Butterball, and a Weedle in Viridian Forest and name him Queen Bee. Both quickly evolve into Butterfree and Beedrill respectively, and we head to Pewter City to challenge Brock. I wish I could say anything exciting happened here, but Sheldon just wipes his team with Bubble. And with that, we claim our first gym badge. We then make a leisurely, uninterrupted stroll through Route 3 and catch a Jigglypuff, and name him S'more. And in Mount Moon, we can catch a Geodude named Popcorn. Walking deeper into Mount Moon, and we get challenged by a man all in black, who seems to be caught up with the wrong crowd. I wonder what could push someone to a life of crime, until I see his name. I mean, I guess his parents didn't open many doors for him naming him Rocket. Rocket immediately punishes me for mocking his name when his Raticate bites right through Butterball with a critical hit Hyper Fang. Bye bye Butterfree. Coming to the end of the cave, Pegasus evolves into a Pidgeotto just in time for me to beat up this nerd for a cool rock I found. Leaving Mount Moon and heading into Cerulean City, Sheldon evolves into Wartortle. On Route 4, just west of Cerulean, we encounter a Spearow and name him Angry Pidge. But at this stage, he'll be on the sidelines as a backup to Pegasus. We go north to Nugget Bridge, and who do we find but Gary frickin' Oak. But this time, I'm ready for him. We both lead with our Pidgeottos, but not both of us have an awesome nickname, so a few quick attacks is enough to take him down. He then sends out his Abra, who doesn't actually know any moves other than teleport until it evolves, So we take the free turn to get in Queen Bee, who takes him down with a Fury Attack. Rattata is out next, and we continue with Fury Attack. He hits us with a decently strong Hyper Fang, but one more Fury Attack is enough to take him out. His final Pokemon is Bulbasaur, but he only goes for a Leech Seed, Growl, then Tackle, as I continue hitting away with Fury Attack. Bulbasaur goes down, and we've again humbled our rival. Each fight against Gary is seemingly getting better, so we're finally building some momentum after a rocky start. Continuing over the bridge, we beat up some kids with such passion and energy that we actually received some solid gold and a job offer from an onlooker. Sign me up. It's here on Route 24 that we can add some much needed type coverage to our team and... oh, never mind. But that's okay, because just around the corner on Route 25 we can add a... damn it. Despite missing those two encounters, we're just about set to face Misty. That is, until I get greedy and take on a hiker outside of Bill's cottage without healing first. Knowing that Popcorn has nothing to do significant damage to his Geodude, I go to switch. Looking at my team, and I immediately know the situation in front of me. I send out Sheldon, who has the highest defense on my team, and should get some easy super effective bubbles onto this hiker's rock Pokemon. I've run out of Water Gun PP, but Bubble is enough to knock out his two Geodudes. He then sends out Mudchop. We use Bubble and do about a third, before taking 8 damage from a critical hit Karate Chop. Thank God for our level and high defense. We then hit him with a Tackle, testing to see if we can do more damage, and again hit him for around a third. In return, we're again hit for 8 damage by another critical hit Karate Chop, leaving us with just 7 HP. We switch back to Bubble and he just holds on, before hitting us with Karate Chop one last time. And he crits again and wipes out Sheldon, by far our best Pokemon. Oh man, what are the odds that he holds on and hits us with 3 critical hits in a row? To add some bulk to our team before facing Misty, I withdraw S'more from the PC and... I withdraw Angry Pidge from the PC and evolve him into a hard-hitting Fearow. With that, we challenge Misty. She starts off with Staryu and we send out Pegasus. We used Quick Attack because it's actually our strongest move with the awful moveset Pidgeotto gets in this gen. We tank a couple of Water Guns and take him down. She then sends out her ace, Starmie. We use Quick Attack again, and Misty uses an X-Defend, which is actually really bad for Pegasus and his low-powered moves. She lands a hard Water Gun, and I'm forced to switch. We send out Angry Pidge on a strong Bubble Beam, which almost does half, and drops our speed. This guarantees that she'll attack first, but luckily she only goes for a Tackle, and we get off 3 hits with Fury Attack. We're both pretty low here, but given our lack of resists, we have to stay in and hope for another Tackle. Sadly, she goes for a Water Gun and hits a crit, wiping out my Angry Boy. This does give us a safe switch to Queen Bee though, who takes another strong Bubble Beam for about half, and finishes the job with a super effective Twin Needle. Wow, this city has taken 3 of our Pokemon from us, not to mention missing out on those Bellsprout and Abra encounters. Entering this stranger's home, and somebody has really trashed the place. He tells me of how he was robbed of the TM Dig and how much it cost him. Luckily for him, I recover it right outside, and knowing how important this item is to this poor man who's just lost everything in his vandalized home, I know there's only one thing for me to do. Moving on, we catch a Meowth named Percy on Route 5, and we get our second chance at a Bellsprout on Round 6, and name him Saviour, because he has finally given us some much needed type coverage in a team full of normal type physical attackers. Heading into Vermilion, we receive the Old Rod from the Fishing Guru and fish right outside his house for a Magikarp named Eric, who is going to try his best to fill the void that Sheldon left. In Diglett's tunnel, we catch a Diglett, and name him Hans, but for now, he'll be sidelined unless something happens to Popcorn. We board the SS Anne with a pass Bill gave us, and stumble upon a global police agent, who is after Team Rocket. Finally, it's good to know that law enforcement can take it from here, and at no point in the future will the fate of Kanto be in the hands of a 10-year-old. We burn through some of the guests on board, and Saviour evolves into Weepinbell, just in time for us to face Gary Oak, who is apparently so far ahead of me that he's learned French while I catch up. He starts off with Pidgeotto, so we send out our fearsome Eric, who is being switch trained, and I forgot to move him from the front of my party. Switching to Popcorn, we shrug off a Quick Attack and a Gust before hitting a hard Rock Throw. Well, this is probably a good time to mention that Rock Throw has a 65% accuracy in Gen 1, and that this certainly wouldn't come back to haunt us. We hit our second Rock Throw, and Pidgeotto goes down. He then sends out Raticate, but only uses a Tail Whip, and we go for Dig, a move we totally learned ourselves by level up, and was definitely not the stolen livelihood of a hard-working father. Raticate goes down to a crit, and Kadabra comes out. We somewhat foolishly go for a Dig here, forgetting how awful Geodude's special stat is, but it pays off as Kadabra only goes for a Teleport. He does try Confusion while we're underground, then Dig's able to knock him out in one hit. We really dodged a bullet there. Gary sends out his final Pokemon, which is a newly evolved Ivysaur. Knowing my luck couldn't possibly hold, I swap to Queen Bee, who tanks a tackle and knocks him out with a super effective Twin Needle. Maybe if Gary spent less time learning foreign languages and more time leveling up his Pokemon, he'd have beaten us there. We have to rub the captain over a bin until he feels better to get the HM for cut. And then we're ready to go for our third gym badge against Lieutenant Surge and his supercharged Pokemon. He starts off with a Voltorb, so I naturally send out Popcorn. After tanking a pretty hard Sonic Boom, we're able to take him down with a single Dig. Pikachu is next, and we swap to Saviour to share around the XP a little. Pikachu only goes for Growl on the switch, and we land a critical hit Vine Whip. After another Growl and a Quick Attack, one last Vine Whip finishes him off. His last Pokemon is a Raichu, and we switch back to Popcorn to err on the cautious side. We're immune to his Thunderbolt on the switch, and just to confirm what he just saw, Lieutenant Surge tries again to electrocute us with Thunderbolt before we use Dig and knock him out with a critical hit. I feel like the Pokemon gods are gifting us all these crits after they unjustly took Sheldon from us in the same way. With our third badge in hand, we head around to Lavender Town, with Popcorn evolving into Graveler on the way. We go straight to the Pokemon Tower, a literal Pokemon graveyard. I'm sure that isn't foreshadowing anything. Here, we yet again run into Gary. I feel like every second battle is this guy at the moment. He sends out his Pidgeotto, and I send out Eric, who's not a scared little carp anymore. I chomp through his bird with Bite, and he sends out his own Gyarados. He hits us with a Dragon Rage, a move which always takes 40 HP, making it super strong in the early game. Gyarados can't actually learn this move until level 25, so Gary is really trying anything to get one over on us. I'm sure that this will be his only illegal move though, so I switch out to Queen Bee on Alear. We foolishly use Rage, not realizing that it would lock us in to this incredibly weak move and stop us from switching. We at least hit a crit before taking a hard bite. This puts us at 49 HP, and knowing I can definitely tank a Dragon Rage, I'm hopeful that my Rage will end in the next couple of turns, and we can get out of this mess. And then, Gary's steroid-fueled Gyarados uses Hydro Pump. And not that would have mattered, but he also lands the crit. Learning the strongest water move 18 levels early, I don't know what Gary's been feeding these Pokemon. We send out Saviour and finish him off with a couple of Vine Whips. Out comes Growlithe, so we switch to Popcorn, who's able to one-shot him with a Dig. Next up is Kadabra, and despite our awful special stat, I'm pretty sure we can still tank a hit, so we again go for a Dig, and he again goes for Teleport. This Kadabra is really not keen on fighting us. He sends out his Ivysaur, so we swap out to Pegasus on a resisted Vine Whip. We start spamming Quick Attack, as he goes for Leech Seed and Poison Powder. It seems like his Ivysaur is really reliant on chip damage strats. Laying Queen Bee to rest, I realise that his death could probably have been prevented, as I don't even have the Sylph Scope yet to get to the top of the tower. So we could have taken this fight at a much later stage. We head west on Route 8, where we can catch a Vulpix, and name him Mozilla. Get it? Because he's a Firefox. We arrive in Celadon City, and head straight to the back entrance of this building, where we can find our next encounter, an Eevee, who we name Wallace. We then go into the Celadon department store to buff up our team with a evolution stones. We actually have 3 stone evolutions in our party, so we grab a Leaf, Thunder, and Firestone, and evolve Wallace into Jolteon right away. We'll hold off on Vulpix and Weeping Bell so they can learn some better moves first. Using some excellent detective skills, I figure I should check out this poster in the game corner. And this rocket grunt leads me right to the secret staircase so I can infiltrate their hideout. Inside, I'm able to show off my insane puzzle solving skills.
2 hours later.
And I eventually make my way to Giovanni. He leads with an Onix, so I lead with Eric, who now knows Dragon Rage. After wasting his only move by using a guard spec, a second Dragon Rage takes him out. Rhyhorn is next out, and he's determined to waste all of his guard specs as we get off another free Dragon Rage. Out of power points now, we switch to Bite, and trade a couple of horn attacks to finish him off. He then sends out his Kangaskhan, who hits us with a massive critical hit bite, before we return the favour. Forced to switch now, and naturally I get greedy, and think I can get Mozilla some free XP if I can just tank one hit. Kang immediately punishes us with 4 hard hitting Comet Punches, taking Mozilla down before he ever got the chance to evolve. I send out Popcorn, and he goes for his patented guard spec, as I hit him with a pretty strong submission which barely leaves him standing. Kang then goes for Rage, as I finish him off with a Dig, winning us our first battle against Giovanni and gaining us the Silph Scope. We then go to Route 16, where we find a Doduo and name him Sven. Just next door, we pick up the HM for Fly, which is actually the first stab flying move Pegasus will learn. But I don't give him the chance, as I immediately switch him out for our newly caught Sven, who is faster, stronger, and just better. Using our new double-headed bird, we go down to earn our 4th gym badge, and meet this man who must be a big fan of grass Pokemon. Oh no, he's not. Now that we have Sven and Fly, we soar through Victory Bell, but we do get poisoned early on. Tangela can't land a hit on us, so she goes down to a couple more flies. She then sends out her ace, Vileplume, who actually hits us really hard with a resisted Petal Dance. This was a lot closer than I thought it would be, but we eventually prevail and make Compost out of Erica's grass Pokemon. Now, the game opens up a bit at this point, and the level cap increases a fair bit to level 43 for both Koga and Sabrina. So we're gonna knock out some side quests first, and then face them back to back. So with that, we fly back to Lavender Town and head into the Pokemon Tower once again, where a bunch of old ladies hit on me in progressively deranged ways. Okay, that one is actually kind of working for me. I'll be back for you. After all that flirting, we head for the roof and find the restless soul of Cubone's mother. This poor spirit has been cursed to remain here, warding off intruders from Team Rocket. So I calm the angry ghost in a totally non-violent way that certainly does not involve killing her again. Scared of Gyarados' homicidal tendencies, Team Rocket flees at the sight of me, and I find Mr. Fuji, who tells us that he came here to calm Marowak's soul. Oh. Oops. Choosing to not tell Mr. Fuji of my atrocity, he can give us a Pokeflute, which allows us to awaken our encounter on Route 12, a Snorlax. He clearly didn't appreciate being woken up, as I paralyze him with Wallace before he takes over half my health with a headbutt. Swapping to Popcorn to surely resist these attacks, he attempts to go for Rest, to cure the paralysis. As he's on full HP, it will continue to fail. However, this does leave me with the situation of not being able to afflict damage, or risk him healing it all off. We burn through 3 Pokeballs as he continues to try to rest and use Amnesia. Giving up on this tactic, we try to weaken him with a Rock Throw. After missing 3 in a row, and getting hit with 2 critical hit headbutts, he's actually doing a lot of damage to us. We play it safe and switch out to Eric, as he rests off his status and damage, bringing us back to square one. We use Bubble Beam and Dragon Rage to chip away at his HP, as he continues to rest it off, while continuing to hit us with more headbutts. He hits us down to just 9 HP, and we need to swap again. Sending out Saviour to live up to his name, Snorlax yet again rests off all the damage we've done. This grumpy sleeper has been threatening to wipe out half my team, so we go for a Hail Mary Great Ball while he's asleep on full HP, and it works. We name the feisty giant Gustavo, and continue on. We then pick up a Venonat named Mothra on Route 13, evolve Sven into a Dodrio, grab a Ditto from Route 15 and name him Crisis, because that's what this run will be in if I ever have to use him, and arrive down in Fuchsia City. Having recently gotten the Super Rod, I quickly dock up to Route 10 and fish up a Slowpoke and name her Susan, which adds some great bulk and special attack to my team. Moving on to Cycling Road, and on Route 17, I fish up a Tentacle and name him Bob, who I can abuse for HMs. Finally, I make my way into Saffron City by sharing my water with this guard, as he tells us he'll share that single bottle with 3 other guards. I guess this was a time before COVID, so that's fine. We walk into Saffron and find the gym is closed, so we settle for the regular gym. Of course, I forget to swap my Pokemon around while working through the Karate Grunts, and Saviour goes down to needless violence from an angry monkey. Eric and Wallace make short work of the pseudo gym leader, and we can pick up a Hitmonlee as a reward and name him Bruce. After a bit of grinding on Route 18, Susan evolves into a Slowbro. And with that, we head into the Safari Zone. Now, the Safari Zone is home to a bunch of unique and pretty strong encounters, so you can imagine my excitement when I find this giant walking mushroom. Ingeniously, we name him Mushcrab and box him forever. Who needs a Kangaskhan or a Rhyhorn or a Chansey anyway? Moving on, we reach the secret cabin and get the HM for Surf, as well as trading some gold teeth we found for the HM for Strength, which lets us kick boulders without breaking our foot. Not only are these two HMs crucial to advancing the plot, but they're also both really powerful moves. Surf in particular gives our 2 water types a 95 base power stab move with 100% accuracy. Ticking off another side quest, we finally head over to Silphco, where I can yet again show off my insane puzzle solving skills and definitely not just walk in circles for hours. Easily solving the teleporters, we make our way up to find none other than Gary Oak. Old predictable Gary yet again leads with his same old Pidgeotto. His newly evolved Pidgeot. And we send out Wallace, who fries his bird with a single Thunderbolt. Having just witnessed the effects of a super effective attack, Gary decides he wants to see what a 4 times super effective attack looks like. Gyarados goes down hard, and Growlithe comes out. But he too is outsped, and also goes down to a single Thunderbolt. Man, this combination of special and speed is unstoppable in Wallace. Gary then sends out his Alakazam, who survives a Thunderbolt on about a third thanks to his equally impressive special stat. He pays us back with a Disable, which fails. He goes down to 1 more Thunderbolt, forcing his final Pokemon, Venusaur. We send out Sven, who tanks a crit Razor Leaf fairly well, before retaliating with a super effective Drill Peck to take him down. Yes, I know it was a crit, but that really didn't matter. After Gary runs off crying, this guy gives us the burden of raising a living creature. Thanks. Naturally, we release the Lapras into a large city with no water because we already obtained Bruce earlier. Not my problem. We make our way to the top of Silphco, where we face off with Giovanni once again. He leads with Nidorino, and we lead with Susan. His combination of ground, rock, and poison Pokemon are really no challenge for Susan, who knows Psychic and Surf. His Kangaskhan survives a hit, but only retaliates with a pretty weak Rage, before Susan makes short work of his Rhyhorn and Nidoqueen. Having rid the region of Team Rocket and their pesky side quests, we can now knock out the last 4 gyms pretty quickly. We can fly straight down to Fuchsia City to take on Koga for our 5th badge, and if you thought this would be a clean sweep from Susan and Psychic, you'd be completely right. His coughing goes down to 1 psychic, as does his muck, and his second coughing. His wheezing actually survives a hit, but he only goes for an X attack and gets off a toxic before going down to surf. Because they share the same level cap, we then jump back to Saffron and I head to the gym to face Sabrina for our 6th badge. And using our freshly honed teleporting skills, we can take the most efficient, direct route right to Sabrina. She leads with Kadabra and we send out Eric. She gets off a pretty strong psychic for about a third before we take her down with a body slam. She then sends out her Mr. Mime, who survives a body slam, but only responds with a pretty weak double slap, taking us close to half HP. Next out is Venomoth, which really seems more like a Pokemon Koga should be using rather than Sabrina, but anyway. We switch out to Gustavo and tank a couple of really weak leech lives, before responding with a body slam to almost KO. She goes for one final leech life before going down to a final body slam. She then sends out her ace, an Alakazam, who easily outspeeds us and goes for a recover while on full HP. We take him down with a single body slam and earn the Marsh badge. We then take a quick detour to fry the electric chicken with Wallace, and squish the ice chicken with Gustavo, on our way to Cinnabar Island. After picking up the secret key from the Poke Mansion, we head straight over to the gym to earn our 7th badge from Blaine. He starts off with Growlithe, and we send out Popcorn. He only goes for agility though, before going down to a single Earthquake. Next out is Ponyta, who can only get off a weak Stomp before also falling to Earthquake. He sends out Rapidash, and fearing our mighty Popcorn, he preemptively tries to use the Super Potion, before also going down to Earthquake. His last is his ace, Arcanine. I know it's Gen 1 and full of bugs, but the AI is really weird here and he again tries to preemptively use a Super Potion, before going down to one final Earthquake. With our 7th badge in hand, there's nothing stopping us from going straight to Viridian to face off with the mystery final gym leader, who turns out to be none other than Giovanni. He leads with Rhyhorn, and we send out Susan, who's able to outspeed and knock him out with a single surf. He then sends out Dugtrio, but only goes for a sand attack before also falling to a single surf. Next out is Nidoqueen, and we somehow outspeed again and also take her out with one hit. Nidoking gets up a guard spec before we miss with Surf thanks to Dugtrio's sand attack. We only get hit with a Poison Sting for 6 damage though, before he also goes down in one shot. Last out is his ace, Rhydon, which is actually a lot scarier than it seems. See, his Rhydon actually knows Fissure and Horn Drill. That's right, 2 one-hit KO moves. Now, both Susan and he are really slow Pokemon, so I'm thinking this will all come down to who moves first. And luckily, it's us, and we're able to surf our way to our 8th and final gym badge. With 8 badges in hand, we're finally able to take on Victory Road and the Pokemon League. We head west on Route 22 and find none other than Gary Oak, in the very spot he took Stuart from us all that time ago. We've grown a lot since then, so we'll speed up this fight a bit, with Susan taking out his Pidgeot, Rhyhorn, Gyarados, and Growlithe, before Sven comes out to finish off his Alakazam and Venusaur. We flash our gym badges to these guards, and I've always really loved this part. It reminds you of all those battles and how far we've come. Into Victory Road, and we briefly stop to take down the Fire Chicken with a 4 times effective Rock Throw. You know, for a 65% accurate move, it really hasn't backfired on us much in this run. Until we need it to one-shot a Lapras, who then takes us down with a crit Ice Beam. Oh man, talk about tripping right at the finish line. We had boosted our party for a little extra physical power, and this is our final team to take down the Elite Four. Our level cap is up to 62 to match Lance's Dragonite, which should give us an edge with the earlier trainers. Lorelai's up first with her Ice Pokemon, and unfortunately for her, 4 out of 5 of her Pokemon are also Water types. So Wallace is able to Thunderbolt her Dugong, Cloyster, and Slowbro, before missing a Thunder on Jinx. She responds with a pretty weak double slap before able to land a Thunder, which just barely leaves her hanging on with 1 HP. Next turn she just goes for a Super Potion though, so one more Thunderbolt is able to take her out. Her last Pokemon is Lapras, and still feeling salty about losing Popcorn in Victory Road, we go for a bit of overkill and wipe her out with a single Thunder. Moving on to Bruno, and we give Bruce his debut, as he leads with Onix, who goes down to a single high jump kick. Out comes Hitmonchan, and we use Mega Kick, which leaves him on what must be 1 HP. He responds with a Mega Punch, which does about a quarter, before going down to Strength. He then sends out his own Hitmonlee to determine the best kicker in Kanto. We go for a Strength, which almost knocks him out, before he only goes for a Focus Energy. One last Strength takes him down, and he sends out his second Onix, who doesn't tank a high jump kick any better than the first. Out comes his ace, Machamp, who takes around 3/4 from a Mega Kick, and then he only responds with a Leer, which fails anyway. One last Strength, and Bruce proves that he is the alpha fighting Pokemon. On to Agatha now, who I think is definitely sold to us as a Ghost type trainer, but looking at her team, and she actually runs Mono Poison. She leads with Gengar, so we send out Gustavo. Now, as long as we're not asleep, her Ghost types can't do much to us, and I know if there's one thing Gustavo loves to do, it's staying awake. Gengar does confuse us on the first turn, but we break through and take him down with an Earthquake. She then sends out her Golbat, so we swap to Wallace on a Haze. We outspeed and go for a Thunderbolt, which is enough to take him out too. Next is her Haunter, so we swap back to Gustavo, who tanks a Nightshade pretty comfortably, before responding with an Earthquake. Arbok comes out, but Bite does almost no damage to us, and he too goes down to a single Earthquake. Her final Gengar is last, and he only goes for a Dream Eater before also going down in one shot. Look at these eyes, does it look like I'm asleep? Lance is the 4th and final member of the Elite Four. He leads with Gyarados, so I lead with Wallace, who outspeeds and zaps his non-dragon out of the fight. He then sends out his first Dragonair, and I switch to Susan to Ice Beam him, his second Dragonair, and surf through his Aerodactyl, before he sends out his ace, Dragonite. Now, with our super high defense stat, as long as he doesn't crit, we should be able to Ice Beam. Oh no. Gustavo comes out and finishes him off with a few body slams, but losing Susan this late in the run is definitely less than ideal. Having defeated Lance, it's now time to face our final challenge and become Pokemon champion with one last rival fight against Gary Oak. He starts off with Pidgeot, and I again lead with Wallace. We're able to outspeed, and one Thunderbolt is enough to take him down. Alakazam's out next, so we use Thunder Wave to paralyze him, as we take a pretty soft Psybeam. 2 more Thunderbolts take him out as he gets fully paralyzed. He then sends out Rhydon, which is terrifying as Wallace can't touch him, meaning we have to switch, but he knows Horn Drill, which would instantly knock out any of my team. We have to risk it and try sending out Eric, and luckily he just goes for Tail Whip. Phew. He goes down to a single Surf from there, before sending out his own Gyarados. Going for the throat, we use Hyper Beam, which takes him down to the red. He responds with Dragon Rage, which is nowhere near as strong as it was in the early game. We have to recharge, but easily tank a second Dragon Rage before taking him down with Body Slam. Next out is Arcanine, who we actually outspeed and take down with a single Surf, forcing his last Pokemon, Venusaur. We swap to Sven, who resists a Mega Drain, and we can then outspeed and use a super effective Drill Peck, which wipes him out in one hit. We've done it. We've ended Gary's short reign as champion and joined the Hall of Fame. This ragtag team was able to get the job done, and while we did lose Susan in the Elite Four, only one death in this final stretch was actually a pretty good outcome. So that's how I completed my first ever Pokemon Nuzlocke, and I've definitely learned a lot. We lost a lot of good Pokemon on the way, but my final team really band together to get us to the finish line. So that's it guys. If you've enjoyed this, be sure to subscribe to the channel to see more of these challenges and leave a comment below to let me know which game you'd like to see me take on next. I'll catch you all next time.